Good morning. It's 11:45 here at 1590 KVGB and 97.7 FM. It is the fourth Thursday of the month. That means focus on Stafford County. Thanks for joining us for the program today. Joining us from the Stafford County Economic Development is Director Carolyn Dunn, also Program Director Ashlee Bevan with us today.
Morning, Steve.
Okay, you look like me. I usually walk around with a stocking hat on, too. I like that, Ashlee. It's a good look. Welcome in, guys.
Good morning.
This was a big meeting in Stafford County here recently. The Division of Water Resources holding two meetings to discuss their proposed water restrictions. Carolyn Dunn, I'll just kind of let you know. What was the attendance like at these meetings?
Well, I think there was probably around 300 people
Wow.
at each of the two meetings. So, it reflects what a big deal it is for our area. It's not just, I think a lot of attention gets given to the irrigation piece of it, and that is very much a piece of it. But irrigators aren't the only people that have wells around here. Municipalities also have wells, as do businesses. So we've heard the kind of examples of how this will have an impact through things like, cities that won't have enough water to serve all of the businesses and the fire departments as they do now. So they will have to figure out how to limit the customers that they have. Or Stafford County Flour Mills is one business that they told me that they wouldn't be able to continue operations as they do now between both the fertilizer application that they do and the flour milling. You don't realize that milling flour takes water. You have to soften the wheat before you actually go through the process of milling it. So they need water for flour milling. They have some plans to expand the mill significantly, which will not happen if these water restrictions are put in place. So there's a lot of far-reaching impact, and of course it did draw a lot of attention from the citizens that are going to be impacted. Now, the good thing is that right now those restrictions are on hold. We have Senator Moran to thank for being involved in this. He met with the nominee that will be the head of the Fish and Wildlife Service at the federal level. Presumably, she's not been confirmed yet, but he met with her, and she agreed to not file a request to secure water for 2020 at this time. So that action is needed from the party that is alleging the impairment. They're not doing that this year, at least at this time. So for right now, it's on hold, but it's not a permanent solution. So, I think it's going to be very important, and it is. It's underway. That GMD5 is going to be continuing to work on this, probably communicating with the Department of Interior to try to arrange, a solution that's mutually acceptable to both parties. And in that public meeting last week, or I guess earlier this week, David Barfield, the chief engineer at GMD5, stated publicly that if GMD5 and Department of Interior can agree to a solution, he will approve it. So I hope that's...
And David Barfield's with the Division of Water Resources.
Correct. He's the chief engineer at the Division of Water Resources at Kansas Department of Ag.
So we don't know have we seen a plan, Carolyn, on what type of restrictions it would be should this...
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, people who own water rights that have wells were given letters earlier this month that told them specifically, individually, how they would be restricted. So that it's not necessarily a certain percentage cut the same across the board. Different people have different restrictions, but I think all in all, it's about 30%, and some up to 50%.
And this is all about water flow from the Rattlesnake Creek into Quivira.
Well, what stems the whole dispute is that Quivira National Wildlife Refuge has asserted that there is reduced stream flow down the Rattlesnake Creek coming to Quivira, and they have a surface water right, but it is a vested senior water right, and they are alleging that there's the cause of less stream flow coming to the Rattlesnake Creek has to do with irrigation. And the fact of the matter is there's studies that can support that, and that's why we're at this point. I will say I think there's also some studies that can be used to refute parts, if not fundamental pieces of that. So that's part of why, it continues to be under dispute.
I guess it would be easy just for me to drill a water well to Quivira and just pump it in directly into this pools. But,
well, and that's what augmentation is. So
Okay.
there is a provision of Kansas law that allows for augmentation, and that is it's supplying the water in a different way, but through drilling wells and pumping water. And even that, the methodology of how that will occur is not agreed to at this time. The Groundwater Management District has proposed several solutions that they believe would both make good the impairment. I don't remember what the right term for that is, but basically, so it would secure the water for Quivira that they are due through the augmentation, and also allow agriculture to exist, agriculture and the other uses of water, primarily as they do now. But those proposals have not been approved by Department of Agriculture, Department of Division of Water Resources. So we're at an impasse, and that's where the chief engineer has kind of said, okay, I'm not approving the LEMA, the locally developed solution. I instead am going to impose an IGUCA, which is orders from the state. And so that has been put on hold for the moment, but it's an important issue. We've got to find a solution that doesn't devastate this area. There's, one way that our Economic Development Board has kind of reflected on this, there is absolutely no amount of economic development projects we could do over the course of our lifetime that would counteract the effect that this would have on our economy. So, it direct impacts in both animal agriculture and crop agriculture. We've estimated to be somewhere around $250 million a year. And then you look at the multiplier effect of that, and that's 700, maybe $800 million a year. There's nothing else. We work so hard to put together a $4 or $5 million project. And then, it could be so negated and more with things like this.
You're a really positive person. Where's your positive meter on this right now with it going forward right now?
I'm hopeful that there will be something that, again, that GMD5 and Department of Interior can work through. I think there are reasonable solutions to be had, ways that the augmentation can occur. Quivira can get the water that they are due, but not have to restrict. The reason we may not have to restrict water so drastically here is that we're in an aquifer that has plenty of water. We're not in the Ogallala aquifer. We're in a recharging aquifer. So our water table is actually pretty stable. And, one of the anecdotes that's come my way through the course of this is a dirt contractor in Stafford County who's explained to me that he's had to delay projects over the past year significantly because the water table is so high he can't get his heavy equipment in to do the work in certain areas. So I
can see the frustration.
I think there's got to be a good way to satisfy the different parties' demands, but also not devastate the economy.
Carolyn, thanks so much for that update on those meetings this week in Stafford County. Ashlee Bevan with us, the EcoDevo Program Director. What's about this Workspace? We want to get some people down there. Go to your website, fill out a remote work assessment.
Yeah, so Kathleen and I are still working on figuring things out. Our online assessment is on our website, StaffordEcoDevo.com. Under our work tab, there is a remote work and training opportunities section where it will give you a direct link to fill out our assessment. Once you fill out our assessment, we kind of look that over and figure out which program we kind of want to put you in. Either you're ready to go with a Flex Jobs account and can start applying for jobs, or maybe we need to work with you a little bit more in our readiness program. And I don't want to go into a whole lot of detail because we send that information through an email once you've completed our assessment. But the readiness program really is breaking things down and helping you build a resume to use for applying for online jobs. That's one of the biggest things. And then some career coaching that you can utilize with your Flex Jobs account once you've signed up for that. One of the cool things before we came up here today, Kathleen and I were checking out their virtual online career fair that they're doing. And there were about 10 employers on there that you could chat with about their job opportunities. So that was kind of cool to look at a job fair virtually on the computer. It looked very real, but you're not there in person. And I'm used to in-person meetings and asking questions. So that was kind of new for me. One of the other things that we're trying to figure out right now is downloading software on the computers to network them together. And so Kathleen and I are learning a lot through this process and encourage people to kind of work with us in figuring these things out. And we've gotten some feedback from a few individuals in our training program. So that's much appreciated. So again, go on to our website, StaffordEcoDevo.com, and fill out our remote work assessment.
Kansas State students back last week, Carolyn, presenting 6 different housing designs.
So
we see what they came up with.
That was a fun day. They had spent a day here at the beginning of the semester getting to know the housing situation in town and spent some time talking with citizens about what they would like to see in the kind of house that they might build. So they came back with 6 designs and asked for feedback specifically on those. So they had given a lot of thought to what makes a house livable and what are good things for making it a good environment for families. Things they talked about were how families become a little more separated now because of things related to technology and so forth, and how can you kind of create a home that gives natural gathering space and a lot of maybe eye toward the way that light comes in and how that makes people feel and so forth. So they were very deliberately designed houses, but with this number one overarching goal of keeping them affordable. So I always, focus on, okay, what's the price point here? Where are we on that? And I think we're staying for the most part on track. It's still in the design phase. So we have those 6 designs. There's large posters in the lobby of the Stafford County Annex. We have Post-it notes there available with markers, and we encourage people to come by and make notes about what you do or don't like about each of those designs. The students are very much looking for that kind of feedback, and so they're there anytime during the day. You can stop by, you can talk with me, or you can just make your notes and do
you have a box there you drop them in, or you just stick them on?
They're just sticky notes. They're just
really,
just stick them on the poster and try to illustrate what you either do or don't like. One of the things I think I've heard a bit about is that the houses are fairly contemporary looking, and I think maybe one of the themes that I'm hearing is that people would prefer something that looks a little more traditional. So I don't know, anything, or if it can be anything you either do or don't like. We'd love to hear it.
Just want to hear the feedback.
Right.
Okay.
So where this is going, they'll try to take those. It's not a matter of voting on one design or another of those 6. What they'll try to do is take the best of all of them and really just kind of synthesize it into one house plan that they'll settle on by the end of this semester, and we'll start building in the beginning of 2020.
Well, this is really neat. Again, how did you run across this? How did you get hooked up with K-State on this?
I was at the Department of Architecture where they have a program in community design, and I was asking if there was any students that might be interested in our AmeriCorps program, and it led to a connection with a professor interested in this type of work.
It's fantastic. Guys, thanks for coming in today.
Yes.
The next time I will see you, it will be 2020.
Yeah, that's right. Oh my gosh, we're in holiday season now.
That is so weird. I remember in the 1990s when 2020 was so far away.
Didn't there a song?
They're doing all these long-term plans with the goal of having an outcome by 2020, and here we are.
Yeah, I agreed. Guys, thanks. Let's focus on Stafford County today on 1590 KVGB and 97.7 FM. News coming up next. Have a great day.